morning. I hope you're good. I hope you are well. I am very, very well. And I want to welcome you to yet another episode of our program, the 7:30 Mentorship Academy. We bring these your way every single day, Monday to Friday. So as long as it is called a day and it is not a holiday, we are here. And we've been doing this for the last 4 years, hence why when you look up that way, you see the four on your screen. And that four means we have been at this the last 4 years. We're very proud to be here every single day. This is a labor of passion. I don't do it alone. I have a team with me, very, very powerful team of individuals that are very gifted in the area of coaching and personal development. On Mondays, it's yours truly. I come here every Monday and do this every time. And then on Tuesdays, we have Dr. Sunshine Sylvia, who comes through and does her thing on the mentorship. She calls it the mindset change program. So she's been running that for a while. She's brilliant and she's always here. In fact, she's just logged in. Let me just bring her on. So that's Dr. Sunshine Sylvia. She comes in every Tuesday with this particular program. And then on Wednesdays, we have the open market. So in the open market, that means that anyone is able to advertise. You can come through and present. So we have different individuals that come through and do it. And then sometimes we do it ourselves, depending on what programs we have running. Then on Thursdays, we have Dr. Nelly Kangwa. She's actually right now in Malawi launching her, I'm not sure if it's transitioning the courts of heaven or the boardroom to bedroom. I'm not sure, but she's launching one of her programs. She's been running with these programs and she has almost every month a different program at a different launch at a different place. And so she's launching in Malawi. And then on Fridays, it's Dr. Jacqueline with her program, which is Healthy Tips, even though at the moment it has been Dr. John Muvanga who's been standing in on her behalf. Now, Doc John Muvanga has also had some major challenges because of the power situation. You know, this power situation has made it so difficult to do these presentations. So Doc has been extremely challenged. So the last couple of weeks, we've had to kind of like come up with ways and means to run that. But I'm hoping that between now and Friday, we can come up with an alternative. We do have a way in which we can get around the challenge of power. So that's Dr. John Muvanga standing in for Dr. Jacqueline Mulundika. And as we speak, Dr. Jacqueline Mulundika has actually traveled with Dr. Nelly Kangwa to Malawi for her event. So that's another member of our team. We also have another hidden member. Usually comes in from time to time. You don't see him much, but that is Uncle Stephen Mwansa. So Uncle Stephen Mwansa, or Dr. Stephen Mwansa, is Sunshine Sylvia, Coach Sunshine Sylvia's husband, and he's our fifth member. He's always been there since we started these programs, so we're very grateful for him, and we appreciate him today. Now, let me also take this moment to mention that if you're one of those that's very keen to take this coaching to the next level, that's the notification right there in the comments. Are you ready to join the UID, or that's Unleashing Your Destiny Mentorship Platform Cohort 1, already ongoing? You can register by following the link that I have shared. So that's in the comments. So share this with other people. If you're one of those who's actually joining us for the first time, or you regularly come here, don't be selfish. Make sure you go in the comments and tag somebody. Share this link on your wall and let people know that it's available and we're teaching on these various subjects. So having done all my housekeeping, let's go straight into my presentation today. It's quite a heavy one. I'm still dealing with the 7 major key factors to transforming Africa, specifically taking responsibility. This is a subject that's very serious. You know, I did 5 major reasons Africa is poor, and that was very eye-opening for a lot of people. I even did a TED Talk around it. So now I am running this particular series, and this is what I call the okay. So we've heard about the problems. What's our way forward? How do we deal? What's the solution? How do we deal with this? So there are 7 solutions that we've been talking about, and these 7 solutions have been outlined, and they are, of course, take responsibility, change your belief systems, Uh, Man, I'm not going to go through them. But today we're still on taking responsibility, and taking responsibility is a deep series. I want to go very deep into this because over the next couple of episodes, I would like to zero in on two examples of how great revolutionaries whose heart was clearly about our own citizens and their betterment were assassinated by their very own colleagues. So these are individuals that really loved Africa, but they did what they could and they're no longer here. Okay, if ever imperialists were involved, it was to facilitate the process that would ensure the environment for the continued care of their interests was resumed where it had been thwarted. Okay, now these two great sons of the soil were Patrice Lumumba and Thomas Sankara. So I want to really zone in on those two. Both ascended into power and were assassinated while they were in I can get my signal back. Okay, the signal is back. Sorry about that. The signal had gone. All right, so back again. Thanks, Edem, all the way from Ghana. Thank you for joining us and watching. So, like I was saying, both were revolutionaries in terms of their sweeping stand for social justice. I haven't the time to mention other great sons of the soil who were, for the most part, betrayed by their own and the causes for which they stood vanquished. So today I shall focus on the first, that being Thomas Sankara. So I will talk about a number of them. And why am I doing this once again? To demonstrate that we play a role. We as Africans, we have to collectively agree that we have only been taking Sorry about that. We talk about slave trade, for instance, but I can tell you that even when it comes to issues of slave trade, who do you think facilitated the sale, the wholesale sale of our people to both sides of the coasts? So meaning the transatlantic slave. These two were facilitated by individuals that were in the continent who made it easy for these who were coming through to be able to trade wholesale in humans. So yes, there were evil people that came and took advantage of Africans, but the truth is Africans facilitated. And today I want to now zone in on Thomas Sankara. All right, so Thomas Sankara came into power after a coup d'etat that was actually orchestrated by his colleague and friend Blaise Compaoré. Now, that's interesting, huh? As a result of the challenges surrounding the nation and its many coups in the past. Okay, Sankara proved to be one of the most beloved presidents this continent has ever had because of his sweeping reforms and quite unheard of patriotism. By the way, footnote, I believe Ibrahim Traore could in fact be, for lack of a better word, a reincarnation of Thomas Sankara, because the route and the work and the way in which Traore is going about doing what he's doing in Burkina Faso reminds us boldly of Sankara. Both were around the same age, both were captains, both were revolutionaries who didn't care about their own well-being and were very nationalistic and patriotic. So it's very interesting to watch Traore and see where he goes. But I can tell you right now, Traore is not a darling of any imperialist because he's chosen to just literally reject everything imperialists are doing. And remember, Traore and his country, Burkina Faso, and that whole bloc are French-controlled or are former French colonies. Remember, it's not just Traore who is exited from the whole French arrangement, but you also have Mali and Niger. And these three have even they've even left ECOWAS. Now that's very, very interesting. Why have they left ECOWAS? Because they feel that ECOWAS has not been faithful when it comes to dealing with the issues on the ground. And you know, this could be a serious issue even for the AU as well. So we're dealing with a whole sweeping change. I'm told Guinea Conakry is just about to join that new body. So you got the three military generals, military rulers, which are juntas, by the way. So a junta is basically an ad hoc military governing body that is supposed to help transition a country from one particular phase of rulership to another, or if you like, governance to another. And what's interesting to see right now is what's going on in those parts of the world. But back to our man, Sankara. Now, besides his very charming charisma and personality, Sankara was amazing. He was also known for some great changes to such an extent that he even became nicknamed the Che Guevara of Africa. Now, let me pause there. Most of you have no idea who Che Guevara was. You may not know him, but you may recognize his picture because it has come to be representative of revolution at grassroots level. Che Guevara was Fidel Castro's right-hand man and was part of the Cuban Revolution of I've forgotten, I think it's 64 or 63 or 61. No, it couldn't be 64. It had to be probably 62, somewhere there, because what's his name? JFK was already president, and there was the Bay of Pigs invasion that was failed, and then there was the Cuban Missile Crisis. This is all in the period that Fidel Castro had taken over, because Cuba used to be a capitalist satellite of the United States of America. But when the revolutionaries, Fidel Castro, Che Guevara, and that whole team took over, they went socialist and communist. And that became a nightmare for America because they were right next door, and it became a very interesting era. Now, Che Guevara was part of that. He even became a minister in the government, but decided that the whole, bougie lifestyle of being a minister governing the country was too boring for him, and he decided that he wanted to continue being a revolutionary, and he decided he wanted to come and help revolutions across the world. And the first place he came to, believe it or not, is the Congo. And there in the Congo, he then tried to create a revolution there and help, deal with what's his name, Mobutu. And then he went over to Dar es Salaam, where he lived with even Laurent Kabila and all the other revolutionaries. It's interesting that Che Guevara called Kabila a foolish idiot or some name like that. Very interesting that Che Guevara would have those type of words for Laurent Kabila, the father to Joseph Kabila. So very, very interesting views from Che Guevara. In the end, he left and went to push a revolution in South America, and I believe it was Chile, Peru, or Bolivia, one of those countries where finally the CIA caught up with him and arrested him and then summarily executed him. So he's become a symbol of revolution. Che Guevara, amazing guy. There's a whole movie around him, which is acted by Benicio del Toro. Very, very interesting movie. You better watch that and see for yourself. Che, I think it's called Che. There's the first part and the second part, just the story of Che. I think there was also another, movie series called, not movie series, a movie called The Motorcycle Diaries, which was about the story of Che as they were moving around, just before the revolution. An amazing guy. So anyway, Sankara is known as the Che Guevara of Africa, the most outstanding ones that brought the attention of even the international media, including what I'm now showing as listed in Wikipedia. So this is the list of changes that this man, Thomas Sankara, brought about. So let's go through them. He sold off the government fleet of Mercedes cars and made the Renault 5 the cheapest car sold in Burkina Faso at the time, the official service car of the ministers. Imagine Vitz. Imagine in Zambia they get rid of the Land Cruisers and then they get Vitzes, and those become the official vehicles of the ministers. Very interesting. And then he reduced the salaries of well-off public servants, including his own, and forbade the use of government chauffeurs and first-class airline tickets for all government officials. He also opposed foreign aid, saying that he who feeds you controls you. So he got rid of aid. He said, we don't need the aid. You can keep your aid. We will deal with ourselves as the Burkinabés. you know, and then he spoke in fora like the Organization for African Unity against what he described as neo-colonialist penetration of Africa through Western trade and finance. That's going on even today. We're talking about this man was operating between 1984 and 1987. 3 years he ruled Burkina Faso, which used to be called Upper Volta. He's the one who changed it from Upper Volta to Burkina Faso, which apparently meant people of the sun or something like that. People friendly faces or something. I have to go check what it means. But all I know is that he changed the name and it became known as Burkina Faso, and the people became known as Burkinabés. Amazing stuff, okay? He called for a united front of African nations to repudiate their foreign debt. He argued that the poor and exploited did not have the obligation to repay money to the rich and exploiting. I still stand by that view. Thomas knew how to show his people that he could become dignified and proud through his willpower, courage, honesty, and work. What remains above all of my husband is his integrity. Those are the words of Mariam Sankara, Thomas's widow. Okay, in Ouagadougou, Sankara converted the army's provisioning store into a state-owned supermarket open to everyone. The first supermarket in the country. Can you believe that? Right. He forced well-off civil servants to pay 1 month's salary to public projects. So you take 1 month of their income to pay for public projects. I mean, you're starting to see why this guy was hated, right? He refused to use the air conditioning in his office on the grounds that such luxury was not available to anyone but a handful of Burkinabés. Okay, as president, he lowered his salary to $450 a month and limited his possessions to a car, 4 bikes, 3 guitars, a refrigerator, and a broken freezer. And then he required public servants to wear a traditional tunic woven from Burkinabe cotton and sewn by Burkinabe craftsmen. He was known for jogging unaccompanied through Ouagadougou in his tracksuit and posing in his tailored military fatigues with his mother of pearl pistol. This is what you see this great guy, Traore, doing as well. So you notice Traore is always in the military fatigue. Even when he went to meet people like Putin, he was still wearing the military fatigue. Even when he goes about all his work, he's always in the military fatigue. And I don't know, I just feel so much hope when I look at people like Traore. I really pray he can stay 10 years and really transform his country, okay? When asked why he did not want his portrait hung in public places, as was the norm for other African leaders, Sankara replied, "There are 7 million Thomas Sankaras." Neat. And an accomplished guitarist, he wrote the new national anthem himself. I don't know if Burkina Faso still uses the national anthem that Sankara had written. I have a feeling that obviously they may have gotten rid of it to try and completely destroy the legacy of Sankara, because one of the things they did is, for the longest of time, nobody even knew where he was buried. I think it's after years of guilt, you know, years and years of guilt, when things really started to go bad, that's when Campore decided to sort of like show where they threw his body, and then I think they built a monument for him. But very unfortunate set of events. Through his many reforms, he was able to eliminate Burkina Faso's debt. Can you believe that? And made the country self-dependent within 2 years. Another African president who did that is what's his name? Tanzanian president, the late what's his name now? Magufuli. Magufuli did that as well. He proved that Tanzania has the resources as a country to pay for the debt. And for me, I think, honestly speaking, even when I look at a country like Zambia, I don't even understand. Like, from my level, I really have a very strong feeling that economists are taking us for a ride. I really, honestly, I don't understand economics. Yes, I'm not an expert, so what the heck do I know? But I just feel economists and their Bretton Woods methodologies are just taking us for a ride. If I had to use the Zambian terminology that really would hit the point home for me, it would be Batizola. What's that word my daughter likes? Batishinkabata. That's the word. I like that one. Yeah, Batishinkabata, because I just don't understand how we can be in this state of debt with the wealth that sits in our country. That, for me, I do not understand it. I never will. All right? So this is why people like Sankara, people like Magufuli proved it. Magufuli has put well, he's dead now, God rest his soul, but he put a high-speed train, modern African high-speed train. I don't think we have that train anywhere in Southern Africa except in Tanzania. I need to check out the Gauteng. The Gauteng is an amazing train as well. I just don't know which is a higher, faster train between the two, but I think they're about the same. Now, in a Southern African country outside of South Africa, the only, in fact, let's just say the whole sub-Saharan Africa, the only country that has put up a modern train in the country with no debt. They did not borrow from anyone. It was built using national resources. He put revolutionary building programs in the country without using any debt. And Magufuli proved it could be done, and he did it. That's why when Magufuli died, the legacy medias had nothing nice to say about him, because he basically called them to their face. He basically ridiculed them on the COVID issues. He just basically wasn't taking any crap from anyone. And you know, in many ways, just like Sankara, Magufuli was able to prove that they have the resources as a nation to make this happen. Now, back to Sankara. Further, he changed the name of, oh no, by the way, I almost forgot to say, Kenya did the same on $3 billion. They owe the Chinese $3 billion for that train from Mombasa into Nairobi. So they have that massive debt to pay. Tanzania doesn't. Now, think about that. Think about that. Do you mean to tell me Kenya doesn't have the resources to build that train? Of course they did. But it's just whatever it is that goes on with our African leaders. I mean, you know, and these Bretton Woods people, you know, whatever they come and tell us, shink us butter until we are just going, yes, yes, yes. We agree to everything. I mean, for example, there's one idea that has been mentioned all this time, and I do not understand why it's not implemented. Why isn't it implemented? Because obviously somebody's gaining by it. We have said before that Zambia has enough gold. We have gold being vomited out of the ground, for crying out loud. Kasenseli, there's gold coming out of the ground. Mumbwa, there's illegal miners mining gold every single day. Rufunza, we have gold mines that are coming up. Vubwi in Eastern Province, Petauke, across in Mozambique. There's gold all over this country, guys. The Bank of Zambia could stop keeping dollars, those useless pieces of paper. They can stop keeping them as a reserve, and you transition to gold as a reserve. And we back our kwacha with gold. You tell me how hard that is. Obviously it isn't, but just somebody is not interested in seeing our country liberated from these earth-shattering debts which don't make any sense to anybody. All right, so anyway, we continue. So back to Sankara. All right, so further, he changed the name of the country from Upper Volta, like I said, to Burkina Faso, which means land of upright people or righteous men. Now there it is, it's come. And the people became known as Burkinabés or upright persons. He also composed the national anthem that is now used to this day, as in 2021. In 1984 called, I don't speak French, so I don't know, Un Seul Nuit or something, whatever. In spite of all this, he was a closest compatriot and colleague, his own closest compatriot and colleague, Blaise Compaoré, who arranged his assassination and then became president instead. Okay, he gave as one of the reasons for the coup the deterioration in relations with neighboring countries. This is now Compaoré. He stated that Sankara had jeopardized foreign relations with the former colonial power, French, who else, and with neighboring Ivory Coast. Following the coup, Compaoré immediately reversed the nationalizations, overturned nearly all of Sankara's policies, returned the country back into the IMF fold, and ultimately spurned most of Sankara's legacies. Many Burkinabés hold that France's foreign ministry, the Croix d'Orsay, whatever, whatever, was behind Compaoré in organizing the coup. This is very possible, as most know that Sankara was anti-imperialist and cancelled many business dealings between Burkina Faso and France, multinational corporations like Shell and the rest of it. Okay? Perhaps what is most heartbreaking is that Sankara was shot to death in the most brutal way possible, and then was buried in an unmarked grave and remained that way for many years. In view of the fact that the people of Burkina Faso truly love this man, a feigned honor of the man continued, although no truth would be revealed until the uprising of 2014, which saw Compaoré's regime removed by popular protest. You know, when people had had enough, there was massive protests across the country, and once the people awakened, my friend, there's nothing you can do. Now, at the time I was putting this together, we know that Compaoré was charged with the 1987 murder of his immediate predecessor, Thomas Sankara. Okay, and thereafter, we know that whoever came on didn't really do what people wanted, and that's why we ended up with the coup that came from this man, Ibrahim Traoré. And you notice that the Ibrahim Traoré and the Mali as well as Niger, military all took over pretty much the same time. I am not sure about the Guinea-Bissau. I've just forgotten which. Oh no, Gabon. I'm not sure about the Gabon situation, but I know there was also a coup in Gabon, because remember, Gabon is the one that was run by Omar Bongo's son, whom I've forgotten his name. And so in that whole region, you've had this revolution in the French-speaking countries, and many of them are fed up with the French. If you follow the legacy that the French had with the colonies, you wouldn't blame anybody. But what's tragic is that everything I'm telling you was facilitated for Sankara. It was facilitated by Compaoré. How was Sankara killed? Sankara was killed in a cabinet meeting when soldiers went into that cabinet meeting and shot to death everybody in the meeting, including Sankara. Sankara was littered with bullets, like literally machine gunned to death. Very similar death to Sadat, and I think Indira Gandhi of India. These were shot like by machine gun bullets. And so when you look at those particular endings, you feel very saddened, because like we say, it was Compaoré. Compaoré was his best friend. Compaoré was his best man in his wedding. Think about that. The one who kills you is the one closest to you. Anyway, so as can be demonstrated from this particular narration, within our own persons, within our own are persons ready to betray the cause and its leader. Just like the tragic story of Judas Iscariot and his betrayal of the master, so is this tale that I've just told you of betrayal of a great man and his cause that transformed a nation in such a profound way. That dream got destroyed by a selfish man and his cohorts, together with the French multinationals that had to ensure things get back to business as usual. And the one that stood in the way was Thomas Sankara, Africa's Che Guevara. Ultimately, though France and others may have had a hand, it was his fellow compatriot and dear friend who ordered the slaying of this great son. Not only was this a betrayal of his good buddy, it was the betrayal of the citizens of Burkina Faso and the cause that should have seen that nation transform powerfully had this man been given the chance to continue his brand of leadership. He was betrayed by a fellow African, not by any white man. Okay, this is the common story of our beloved continent, and we all stand collectively responsible. I'm talking about taking responsibility. I'm talking about, the catharsis of speaking openly about these things. And we know that Sankara was betrayed by his own. And of course, is it possible to have a place where our own will not betray? That's a really hard one. But all I know is that I don't know how Compaoré managed to live all those years with no guilt. Maybe that's the reason why when things went south, he kind of, you don't see any resistance from Compaoré. Like really, he reached a point where he realized that people are mad, and this thing, I have to deal with it. I think he reached a point where his own conscience, drove him to come to acceptance. I've watched a video where he literally apologizes. I don't know if it's under duress or it's genuine, but there is a video of Compaoré literally facing the cameras and apologizing to the people of Burkina Faso and saying everything that happened under his watch are his fault. He is sorry and he asks for the forgiveness from all the people of Burkina Faso. The video is there. I watched that video and I don't know. You know, it's very difficult. This is why, you know, forgiveness is divine, because it's so painful to watch that. Okay? It's very painful to watch that video and to imagine this guy killed his best friend. His best friend. This is the friend that wasn't just a best man, but he was known by his parents. They were kids. They grew up together. Both the parents of Compaoré, parents of Sankara, knew each other. They were buddies. They went to military. They enrolled on the same day. They trained on the same, you know, era. They got promoted at the same time. These were buddies in every sense of the word. That's why when Sankara, you know, when the revolution took place, Compaoré was his right-hand man. Right-hand man. Think about that. And yet he was willing to sell his friend for 30 pieces of silver. So when you watch Compaoré's words as he apologizes, you see the anguish of a man that I think who had to live with that pain of killing his friend. I don't know if Compaoré ever faced the widow of his friend, because he was at that wedding. Did he ever face that widow? Did he ever face Mama Mariamo and say, I'm sorry I had your husband, my friend, shot to death? Whew. Anyway, so that's the story. So I'm liking what Edem has said here. Edem has said it is extremely hard for many historians to accept that we always had a major role in our downfall. If there's no enemy within, the enemy without cannot hurt you. Agreed, Edem. We have to be the ones. We must take this responsibility. And for me, for as long as Africans, we do not take responsibility and accept that we have played a role, you know, in where we are today, if we have played that role, then I think we'll still continue with this game. We must come to a place where we accept that as Africans, we have to take a deep look at ourselves and take responsibility. So next week when I come, I am dealing with Lumumba. And you know, it's not just Lumumba, but we have a number of other leaders. I think President Olympio is another example in Togo. And even Sir Abubakar Tafawa Balewa of Nigeria is another example. We have a list of painful people, okay? So, oh, really? He grew up in the house of, oh my God. I mean, that makes it even more horrible. Huh? I mean, Compaoré grew up with Sankara in the same, that's just beyond. Anyway, that's why I guess he made the confession, and you could see it in his eyes. Go look for the videos there on YouTube. He's speaking in French, but he asks the people of Burkina Faso and the family of Sankara to forgive him. So anyway, we need to take that responsibility as Africans, and until the day we accept that we put ourselves here, we're not going to come out of here. So next week, join me either next week or Wednesday when I now look at the next story, my favorite founding leader of all time, and that is the one and only Lumumba. You know, Patrice Lumumba, Emery Patrice Lumumba. What a man! God bless you, and let's catch each other tomorrow, actually, when Dr. Sunshine comes through with Mindset Change Program. Adios.